Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to keep my promise. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to honor your time as much as we possibly can. I want to start with introductions. My name is Shawn Vincent. I'm the principal at Whittier Middle School in Poland. Been there since 2004, and as a teacher and dean and assistant principal and principal. And it's been really exciting to see the growth of our school and to be in the middle of that. So I'm really excited. This is one of my favorite things to do every year, to talk about our school, about what's going on, and to welcome new students in. Sam?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Chatto. I'm the Dean of Students at Whittier Middle School. This will be, just be finishing up my third year at Whittier, and it is just such an awesome community of staff, teachers, and students. It is a great place to be every day, and it is, to echo your sentiments, super exciting to be welcoming a new group of students to school.
Bonnie?
Yeah, and I'm Bonnie Robbins. I'm the school counselor at Whittier Middle School. I've been in the district since 2000, so it's been a long time. I started as a teacher at Poland Community School, left for a little bit when I had my twin boys, and then came back as school counselor at Poland Community School, and then joined Whittier when we transitioned into a tri-town middle school. So I've been around for a little bit of time.
We're going to take you through a fairly short slideshow tonight and try to give you a taste of what you can expect at Whittier Middle School for your children. And there's by no means do I expect that we're going to answer all of your questions tonight, but I hope that we'll give you some things to think about. And if you do have questions that come up either in the middle of this thing or towards the end, there is a chat function, and you can certainly chat. If you'd like to chat to the panelists, Bonnie and Sam are going to keep an eye on your questions. And if they can answer those directly to you, they will. Or if it's something that they think would be good for the whole group, then they're going to share that with the group, and we'll answer those questions as well. And if there's something specific about your child, this is the beginning of us opening a relationship, getting connected with you. If you'd like to get connected with us, you can always email, give me a call, because we want to start that process as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about this summer and my availability, because I certainly I like the distractions of seeing kids and families during the summer, and I will certainly be at school. So there are lots of opportunities if you'd like to meet or see our school in person. Okay. Just a quick note on this opening slide. We do have openings still in our summer learning program, and I'm excited about it. Sam Chatto is going to be one of the folks that's going to be teaching this summer. It's going to be, I think it's going to be our best program ever. And we do still have about, 9 slots, Sam, about 9 slots left. Is that about right?
That sounds about right. Yep.
All right. Okay, so your child is part of the class of 2027. And every time I say that, it sounds like science fiction, but it's time, and very exciting. And I actually have my third child finishing middle school this year. It's not as bad as you might think. So we're going to convince you. So these are some pictures from a couple years ago when students came over for Step Up Day. We're not going to be able to do Step Up Day quite the same way that we have in the past this year, but we do have plans to have kids come up and visit the school. We're probably going to have them there for about 40 minutes. Cohort A will come and visit our school on June 1st, and Cohort B will come up and visit the school on June 4th. Sam, Bonnie, and myself have already been around to the elementary schools to try and meet some students, let them see who we are. When the students come to visit us, we're going to introduce them to our librarian. She's going to talk a little bit about the summer reading program, to Mr. King, who does co-curricular activities. He'll talk to them a little bit about those opportunities. And we will give them a chance to see the school and hopefully meet a couple of teachers as well. These are some more pictures just from their visit. And it's funny to look back at these pictures because these students in these pictures are now our 8th graders. And they grow up fast. So take lots of photos, even if they don't want you to take their photo. Just to tell you a little bit more about our middle school, the building itself opened in 1999, and it was just Poland students who were attending at that time. In 2010 is when we consolidated and we started receiving 7th and 8th graders from Minot and Poland. And that has truly enriched our population, our resources, and certainly our teaching staff. It is stronger than ever with the group that, and a lot of them have stuck around, and that's been really exciting. We actually had 0 turnover from the previous school year to this school year, and there are very few schools around that can say that, and I think that speaks to just the positive connections that the staff has amongst each other, and I think that carries over to our students with positive relationships as well. We have grades 7 and 8 at the middle school, and Mr. Healy, our superintendent, he said, okay, when you are making plans for 2021, 2022, I want you to go back and I want you to look at the number of students who were in 5th grade in 2019. That's what I want you to base your plans on. And I went back and I took a look, and for 7th grade, amongst the 3 elementary schools, there were 149 7th graders who were 5th graders at that time. So we are planning for 149 7th graders and 146 8th graders. We'll see if that's the way that it shakes out. It certainly would be the biggest our school has ever been. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really positive experience to bring in so many new students. We have 20 full-time teachers, but we do share staff in a few different places. Our PE teacher we share with Elm Street School, and we also share music teachers with the high school, social worker with the high school, and then some other speech and PT with the other schools in the district. So 20 full-time and another 6 ed techs, and and then our office staff. But it's great to have the resources to be able to share with the high school. It makes a lot of sense. And our average class size that I expect for next year will be 20. Whittier is built on a whole child approach. We are all in on making sure that the school is not just about having the top math students, although we certainly want to build our math capacity and our writing and reading and science. And but we also want to make sure that our kids are healthy and they're safe at our school. So those are priorities for us. We also want to make sure that they like going to school at Whittier, that they're engaged there, and that they feel supported, but also challenged. I think middle school is a great time to push kids a little bit, but also to make sure there's a safety net there to catch them if it is if they feel like they're maybe challenged a little bit too much. But we work very hard as a staff together to make sure that these pieces are in place and that our kids can thrive. This is our motto. We say it every single morning, and whenever we are meeting with students to do problem solving, they hear it again. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of this place. There's lots of rules. No matter what school you go to, what setting you're in, there's always lots of rules. But we just base everything on these 3 pieces of our school motto, and I think it's an easy way for the students to kind of connect to the school community. So I created this little video today. We had one parent that I heard from, and they said, I would really like to have just a quick tour of Whittier Middle School. So this is what I did a little bit today, this afternoon. It's a beautiful day. And it's funny, the kids saw what I was up to, and a couple of them, I think, wanted to be actors. They wanted to be actors for us. But as you enter the middle school here, it's really just 2 hallways. This is the brand new hallway down here that was just added on and opened up last January 13th, 2020. And then this hallway down here was the original hallway of Whittier Middle School. We call that the C wing, and the new wing is the F wing. Now here's a couple of classrooms. This is one of the new science classrooms. We have 2 of them for 7th grade and 2 for 8th grade. And this is a social studies class. Right now, you can see the kids are pretty spread out in the classes, making sure that we're meeting the CDC guidelines. It's Mr. Landry, our 7th grade social studies teacher. And this is our gym. It's a small gym, but it works for us. We do host basketball games in here during the winter. Floor hockey today, PE. Taking you down the hall a little bit here. This is one of my favorite places to visit because I just love seeing the kids with their hands-on opportunities. This is 7th graders take tech ed with Mr. Brandon. And the students today were working on building bridges. They're building bridges, and everybody's trying to build a bridge that can hold the most weight. So they've been working on designing that. There's a lot of math and science incorporated in the work that they're doing in there. Just a quick look at the cafeteria. The way that we have it set up right now is we actually have lunch tables set up in the high school lobby, as well as lunch tables in the main cafeteria area. And this is, again, to create space for the students. This has worked out actually great. We are currently running a 7th grade lunch and an 8th grade lunch separately for the first time in a number of years. And it's much more relaxed in there. This is the end of the day. I was just kind of showing the bus loop there. If it's towards the end of the day, never come and park your car in the bus loop because you get stuck. Don't do that. But the buses are there. There's quite a few buses at the end of every day. The buses park in the same spot every day, and it's fairly easy for the kids to find their bus after day 1 or 2. This is the main entrance of the middle school. So if students are late to school, they need to come in through here, or if you as a parent are coming in to school, you come in, and that's Mrs. Mooney. Probably should have gotten her permission before I took a video of her, but Mrs. Mooney is like super helpful and will get you connected with whatever you need. That's where students check in. That's where you can pass a message along to a student. If you're due to meet with me or a teacher, this is where you check in. Actually, as you enter that little lobby, Mrs. Mooney's on the left, and then the high school secretaries are on the right. And then there are another set of doors in front of them that they have to buzz you in from there. It's a great system, a great little setup, and definitely feel good about safety and the way that things are now running at the middle school. Just to share a little bit about courses that you can expect for students. I think these are courses that are pretty big staples, core classes that I'm sure you're familiar with from your days in middle school. English language arts, math, science, and social studies will be on all of the students' schedules. And then unified arts. Unified arts, we have in grade 7 currently, we have art and technology education. And the students take each of those for 1 semester. They meet with the art teacher every day for that first semester, and then with Mr. Brandon for tech ed for the 2nd semester, or the other way around. In 8th grade, it's wellness and Spanish are the 2 semester long classes. Now going into next year with the increase in students, we are working over another possible schedule. Our students currently go to 5 classes during the day. What we're looking at is next year having 6 classes during the day. So they could potentially in 7th grade have art for 2/3 of the year, tech ed for 2/3 of the year, and phys ed for 2/3 of the year. And that would cover those 2 blocks beyond the core classes that I just kind of went through with you. I'm very optimistic. I think that would be a great approach for our kids and give them more physical activity than we have been able to offer in the past. Band and chorus are electives, and if your child has any interest in either of those courses, I would strongly encourage them to participate. We have, I think, best band and chorus teachers around. They really are just experts in their fields and just great instructors. They work really well with the students. And it's amazing the growth that we see in kids during their experience in band and chorus. So again, that's on the table for our students entering. They've really been on hold all year this year. The band, Mr. Williams has been doing some work with a small group of students, and Miss Edwards has just started working with a group of chorus students, but we are all in for next year. This is an idea of what the daily schedule probably will look like with 6 classes. I think I'm still tampering with this a little bit because I think lunch is a little later than I would like it to be. So I'm going to play with this a little bit more before the beginning of the year next year, but you can kind of see how it would work. Kids are in their classes for about 50 minutes each. So, you know, it says academic ABC. That might be English, tech ed, art, social studies. And they would see each of those teachers daily. We see that as being very important, especially in the development of math skills. I think the kids really need that daily practice in building those skills in math and writing in particular. So along with a daily schedule, I think parents like to know, so when does the day start? When does the day end? We start letting kids into the building at 7 o'clock. But 7:15 is really the more ideal time. If you're going to drop off your child, that's really the earliest you want to drop them off. If students enter the building at 7:15, they go straight to their round table, and we'll talk more about what round table is in a few minutes. And at 7:35, that's first bell. So if the students are not here by 7:35, they're likely to be tardy. First bell, 7:35, second bell, 7:40. 7:40 means that's the start of the day, and that's the official beginning of day. So, you know, getting them here between 7:15 and 7:35, that's kind of your goal time in the morning. If you wait and you drop them off, let's say 7:25, Sam, does that sound about right? The buses are done dropping kids off by that time. So you can, at 7:25, you can pretty much swing right through that bus loop and drop kids off at that point. Makes it really easy for them and for you as well. At the end of the day, this is what we're looking at doing next year. I think there's still a lot of kids that are being transported by parents. So we're looking at a staggered release at the end of the day where we would dismiss students getting picked up at 2:02. Dismiss students who have a high school sibling that they're just going to go up and get in their car, 2:05, and then dismiss students riding the bus at 2:10. And now, Mr. Chatto, talk to us a little bit about co-curriculars.
Yeah. You know, so I think one of the things that's really exciting about middle school in Whittier is that we offer a bunch of different ways for students to get involved at school outside of the classroom. So obviously sports is one thing that's really exciting. We offer sports in the fall, winter, and spring. So in the fall, you know, we have soccer, field hockey, cross country. In the winter, you can see basketball, indoor track, the baseball, softball, track in the spring. One thing that is a little bit different you can see there for lacrosse is we don't have our own lacrosse team. Students from Whittier can go and play with the Gray New Gloucester lacrosse team. And I think we have maybe 4 or 5 students who are doing that this year. And then, you know, in addition to sports, we really encourage students to get involved in the different clubs that we offer at Whittier. You know, because this year our schedule has been, you know, a little out of sorts. It's been hard for all of our clubs to get off the ground this year, but we've still had a lot of different groups meeting. And I'm really hopeful that next year all of our clubs can be getting back together. And, you know, clubs for all different sorts of interests. Our STEM, our technology club is really popular with students. They do coding and robotics. Mrs. Robbins and I are the advisors for the civil rights team. So if students are interested in, you know, civil rights related issues, it's a great organization to get involved in. And they meet all different times throughout the day. So some of our clubs meet at lunch and some meet after school. And we have students that do clubs. More than one, we have students that do clubs and sports. So students shouldn't feel like they are, have to just pick one thing and do it. We encourage them to get involved in a variety of different things.
Sorry.
Yeah, so another thing that comes along with transitioning into middle school is there's more expectation for students to start to become independent. And we don't just kind of throw students out there and to learn it on their own. We have this kind of whole child approach. And that's part of some of the stuff that we do. And Mrs. Robbins will be talking a little bit later on about roundtable. And that's one of the things that we do in our roundtable groups is spend some time talking about, all right, how can we try to become more organized? How do we advocate for ourselves? How do we send good emails to teachers when we are going to be absent or we need help getting work made up? So that's part of what we spend time helping students so that they can become good advocates for themselves, good independent learners. And I think with the hybrid learning this year, it's a skill that students have really been developing. We've been asking, even at the elementary level, we've been asking students to complete a lot of work at home on their remote days. And so I think it's something that students are starting to pick up now. One thing as well that kind of helps build the independence for students is we do have Jump Rope, which is our online grade book. So if students have work to complete, they can always go and check their own grades and see, okay, is everything turned in? Do I have any missing work? Am I meeting all the standards? And you as parents as well, you're able to sign into Jump Rope and check your child's grades and make sure that they're staying on top of everything. Now, it's not, a completely instantaneous log of student work. It's going to take a little bit of time for a teacher to get the work, take a look over it, provide the feedback that's necessary, and get it put into Jump Rope. But, teachers do a really good job keeping it up to date, but sometimes there might be a little bit of a lag between the time a student turns something in to when it gets updated by a teacher on the online gradebook. All right, and great picture there. I think unfortunately one of the things that we missed out on this past year is we usually do like a staff versus students soccer game and basketball game. So maybe we'll be back at it this year. We'll see what happens. So at Whittier, you're going to be interacting with classroom teachers and roundtable teachers and a principal and a dean and the school counselor. And sometimes it can be kind of hard to figure out who do I turn to for help, or based on my question, who's the best person for me to be asking? So if you have questions about specific assignments, work in Jump Rope, grades in particular classes, if you want to know how your student or your child is doing in terms of behavior in their specific classes, the classroom teacher is the best person for you to be reaching out to, because as the classroom teacher, let's say Mr. G up there in his hard hat, he teaches social studies and ELA. So he will be able to provide really great specific information about how your child is doing in social studies and ELA, because he's seeing them every day. He's working with them every day. He's seeing progress that they're making. And so if you have, specific academic questions, the classroom teacher is probably the best place for you to start with those questions. And you can see Mr. G and Mrs. Henderson and Mrs. Goss and Mr. Landry and Mrs. Gilbert and Mr. Jones. They are our 7th grade teachers. And a lot of them are on the Zoom meeting today too. So it's nice to see them on here. And then you have Mr. Vincent and myself. And so if you have questions around attendance or student safety, or, I think problem solving is a really great kind of umbrella term for what we do. If students are having issues, if a student is having an issue with another student, we really work to try to help them solve that problem. And we use what's called like restorative practices, which really focuses on, all right, so what's this issue? What's at the base of the issue, and how can we go about solving it? Does that mean that myself and the 2 students, we need to sit down and have a conversation where we can talk about what's going on and kind of come together with a list of agreements so we can move forward? I mean, that's our goal. How can we resolve problems so that everyone can move forward and feel safe and comfortable and be successful at school. So if you have questions around those kinds of things or have concerns around those kinds of things, Mr. Vincent and myself are the people to reach out to. Now it's Mrs. Robbins' turn.
Yeah, so thank you. So all of our staff really at our school are support people for our students. I've never worked with a staff that's just so much all about students and outside of the box thinking for students, and whatever anybody needs, everybody is there for. But we have some other support people. Myself, the school counselor, I've been around to all the schools except for PCS. I'm going next week to meet with 6th grade students. My job really at school is to work with all students. So I see students one-on-one if they have something that they want to talk about. Maybe they're struggling in a class, need help with work, organization, having an issue with a friend, whatever is going on for that day or in their life. I also do a lot of groups, and I try to be extremely present in the building as much as I can, because my goal is to build a relationship with every single one of our kids. So they all know that they have a safe place to come and a safe person to talk to when they need that resource. So the kids get to know me pretty well, and I get to know them really well. I'm also here as a support for parents. Most of my phone calls are 7th grade parents saying, what's going on with my child? Or they've changed, they're in their room all the time, they won't come out. And I'm like, yep, that's middle school, that's development, that's growth. So I really am here to support parents as you navigate this. If this is your first time going through this, or maybe it's your last child going through this. So whatever family support that I can offer, I'm here for you as well. Next to me in the picture, we have Miss Pittman. She's our special ed social worker. So she works with caseload kids. So she's got specific students that she works with, but she's also available if something arises or if I'm unavailable. She's right there as well to support kids as needed. So she's another great resource. We have our 2 fabulous school nurses who have worked tirelessly all the time, but this year, tremendously this year with everything that's going on. So we have Pam Tracy and Lisa Storer. Any of your needs, child's medical needs, medication, they're injured, they need something, they need a snack, our school nurses are always available. And again, I can't give them a big enough shout out with all that they have done this year. They're fantastic. We do share the nurses with the high school. They are located at the end of the hallway at Whittier. So when our high school kids access the nurses, they're not really coming all the way down our hallway, sort of right at the entrance of middle school and high school. So they're serving everybody. And then at the bottom, we have our school resource officer, Officer Jakes, another fantastic addition to our school. He is so proactive. The kids really enjoy him. He's around if they have questions, he'll have lunch with kids. He's just a fantastic addition to our school, and kids really, really have gotten to know him, and he's built some fantastic relationships. So available for students and parents as well if you have questions or needs. So we're going to talk a little bit about Roundtable and the Roundtable advisor. So Roundtable, think about like homeroom. At elementary school, you had a homeroom teacher and you had a group of students and a teacher for the whole year. So Roundtable is like that. We call it Roundtable because we are the knights. So it's the knights of the Roundtable. We're actually the midnights. In Roundtable, you have the same group of students and teacher for 7th and 8th grade. So we really are mindful when we choose our roundtables of looking at the 3 towns and dividing that up. And in the beginning, kids are like, I might not know someone in my roundtable, but by the end of 8th grade, it really becomes a family. That's another home base. So if you need one person to check in with because your child has a number of teachers, your roundtable advisor is another really good person to check in with. If you have any social concerns or things going on at home, wanting to know what your child looks like at school, that is another place to start. They will get to know your child really well. You will get to know them really well. We do student-led conferences at Whittier. So the students are in charge of their conferences, and that always takes place with the roundtable teacher as well. It's hard for you to navigate a conference with 5 different teachers. So you'll do that with the students, the roundtable teacher. So your advisor is someone to really get to know. And then as they move on to high school, they're switched around and then they have roundtable for 4 years in the same grouping with the same staff member. So it's just a really good model to look at. And then roundtable. What do we do in roundtable? Roundtable is really where we have our check-in time. Mondays, we'll have a circle where we check in, see how everyone's doing. It's a good time for a roundtable teacher to get a pulse on a child. If they look like they're upset or had a hard weekend or they share something, they can contact me so we can be proactive to reach out to that child. They'll do jump rope checks in roundtable. So they'll be looking at their grades to see where they're at. We also do our social emotional curriculum in roundtable. So we look at character education. We talk a lot about digital citizenship. We now have these technological tools. Your child will have a laptop. So really learning how to use them. Team building is a huge piece. This year was a little bit more difficult, but as you can see in this picture, and as I'm looking at it, these are seniors graduating this year. They look so little. We like to do spirit weeks. This was a chariot race that we try to do every year in the gym. So we like to just do a lot of team building, getting to know you, building connections. Really, I feel like Whittier is all about relationships, building relationship with students. If they have a relationship with someone, they'll be successful in middle school. So, and that's roundtable also, that school to home connection. So the first few days of school, so students get nervous, parents get nervous, families get nervous of what's middle school look like? How will I know where to go and what to do and open a lock and what happens? So the first day of middle school is 7th grade only. We do not allow our 8th graders to come except for a handful that come to help out and kind of help us with our 7th graders, but it's 7th grade only. We've done that for a number of years. It's really nice to get those 7th graders in the building and have it be their own. And we spend the first day in roundtable, and it's basically how to do middle school. So kind of like a Whittier boot camp, practicing middle school. This is where your classes will be. We'll do a tour. This is how you use a locker. We'll teach them how to use a lock, where the restrooms are. Anything that you can imagine in your day, we practice on the first couple of days of school, especially that very first day. Organization, what does my binder look like? How do I carry things around? That second day when the 8th graders are back, you'll still spend some time in a roundtable as well. And then they'll go through their class, like a mini schedule. And then on the third day, we're into our classes and they're visiting their schedule. But we will consistently go through and practice the first couple of weeks of school. We will be in the hallways. We'll make sure no one gets lost. There's a ton of support in those first few days. We're never going to throw them in and be like, okay, go do school. It's very different than elementary school, but they catch on really quickly and a lot of support to get them through.
These are a few pictures from this year, just of some of the different activities going on. Robotics and basketball and just a day in English language arts class. And, you know, as you could see throughout this little slideshow, some pictures of Whittier history, and then we have some pictures here of this current school year. I really am proud of the students and the staff for the work that they've done, kind of dealing with the challenges of going to school during the pandemic. They've done an awesome job this year, and we're working together to try and finish strong now. So what's coming up? Well, as I noted earlier, we'll do our summer learning program in July. So there's some opportunity there. In August, some things that you'll start to note more connection, more contact from school. I'll send a school newsletter out in the snail mail in the beginning of August. You will hear from your child's roundtable advisor as well sometime in August. Sometimes they do postcards. Sometimes they put a letter in the mail or something like that, just to reach out and let them know that we're thinking about them, and that will also go out in August. I have a question mark next to open house. Sam and I were talking today about how we might stage open house a little bit so that we can make sure that that can happen in a way, you know, that's safe and appropriate for the time. But you know, I don't see any reason why open house won't happen. It's not on the calendar yet, but I do expect that we will have an open house in August. We will also, I want to put it out there to families. If you'd like to come into the building and take a walk around and bring your son or daughter with you, Sam is going to be in the building for summer school, you know, all of July. I'm going to be around through majority of July and August. So if you want to schedule something with us, you can reach out over the summer, and we'd be happy to have you in and meet kids. You know, that's good for us as much as it is for the child. So let us know, and you can have your own little private open house, you know, at that point. So it's a little messy, you know, during the summer as the furniture comes out into the hallway so that the custodians can do thorough cleaning, but we can certainly get you through and make an appointment with you. And then our first day for grade 7 is going to be September 1st this year. So the plan will be that grade 7 only on September 1st, and then on September 2nd, it will be the first day for all students to be in the building together. So what can you do to prepare for middle school? Well, I have a couple of things. One thing is just make sure that your child has an updated physical. If they're planning on playing any sports at Whittier, they have to have a physical that has taken place within the past 2 years. So, and you know, it's only good until that those 2 years are up. So if your child is planning on playing sports, please go back, take a look on the dates. I know a lot of you probably get that annually, so it's not a big deal. But if your child is having a physical over the summer, then when they go in, ask for a sheet that says that they have completed a physical with a date on it, because you will need to submit that for them to play sports. And you can make that request now too. You can, you know, just because when everybody comes back to play soccer and field hockey and so forth, the physicians' offices are just inundated with requests. So if you can plan ahead and have that lined up, you'll be in good shape. We will be talking to the students about a summer reading program that's going to come from our librarian, Mrs. Purdy. I strongly encourage, you know, kids are reading 20 minutes every night. I think it's a great routine to get into, or, you know, 5 out of 7 nights or something like that. And it also helps us with our reading goals as a school. So keep them reading. And then start talking to them about, you know, what is the plan going to be at home next fall for them in terms of homework. You know, when are they going to do it? Are they going to do it right after school when they get home? Are they going to do it after dinner? It's just good before the school year starts to have a plan. Now, can that plan change? Absolutely. But having those conversations early, so that everybody's on the same page, it just makes things go more smoothly. How much homework can I count on for my son or daughter in a night? I think it's good to plan for an hour. I think that will usually cover them. They'll usually have some math practice and a reading expectation on weeknights in middle school. So that's something to think about. And when they start playing sports, Sam, I don't remember if you mentioned this or not, middle school sports are likely to be 5 nights a week. You know, if your child is playing soccer in the fall, they may have 4 practices and 1 game during those 5 weekday nights, or, you know, a couple of games and 3 practices. But it's a busy schedule. It's also nice to make friends with some other parents who have kids on the same team, so that you can kind of work together to carpool. I think that's a really helpful thing to do. But homework, you want to make sure that that doesn't take a back seat. And then this other note here came as I was putting my information out to staff, a reminder that the nurse's office needs a copy of students' MCV4 meningitis and Tdap information to start the school year in the fall. And I don't know if we're able to, Bonnie or Sam, can you see how to add a panelist? Because I think you could add Lisa Storer, and maybe she could just comment on that if she has anything further. I'll let you work on that. I'm going to move to the next slide. That's it. Welcome to Whittier. You know, obviously this was not this year. This was the previous year. But it's a nice community. It's a close community. I think we work really well together, and we are looking forward to working with you and your kids. I think this is it's a big leap going from elementary school, where maybe your child has gone there from pre-K through 6th grade, to coming to middle school. But I think Whittier Middle School is a pretty soft landing place for middle school students. So I am going to stop talking. Sam, Bonnie, anything else? And parents, if you have some questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. Don't be afraid. and we will be happy to answer anything you have.
I think as the host, you have to add Lisa as a panelist. We can't do it.
No.
And I just want to say, although I'm not at Whittier working all summer, I do pop in quite a bit, and please feel free to email me as well. I'm happy to meet you there to do a tour or to talk on the phone or email. So I do check my email all summer, and I do pop into summer programming. So feel free to be in touch at any point. There's a question, will school return to 5 days a week?
I'm all in. And that's what our superintendent has asked us to prepare for. He said, I want to be ready to go 5 days a week in the fall. Do everything you can as a staff to be ready to go. So that's what we are planning for as a staff, and we will be ready. Now, I don't have any control. You know, I'll certainly do whatever the superintendent tells me to do, but I'm looking forward to seeing everybody back 5 days a week in the fall.
And then if you can't see the chat, our school nurse, Lisa Storer, just wrote, if any vaccines are given over the summer, please send along updated records prior to the start of school on September 1st. So if you can email those over to Lisa Storer, lstore@rsu16.org before school started, she would appreciate that. And here she is, I think.
Yeah, Lisa, you can access now if you're interested in coming on. No, we'll leave Lisa alone. Any other questions? So I think we'll stop there. Does that sound good, Mrs. Robbins, Mr. Chatto?
Yeah, 2 questions just popped in.
Okay, go ahead.
Or a couple questions, I'll just read them off. Is the district requiring, strongly recommending vaccination from COVID?
I think it's certainly up to families at this point. Strongly recommending, sure, yes. I would say that we are strongly recommending, but there's no requirement.
Okay, then we have, we're so excited about our second round at Whittier. Cannot say enough about the exceptional staff at our middle school. Becca, I cannot believe your youngest is coming to middle school. I'll just say that. I feel like she was just in kindergarten. And then we have one last question. What happens if a child doesn't turn 12 until the end of August for the coronavirus shot, and the second shot is 4 weeks later? Does that mean a late start?
No, no. The students are welcome into the building without the shot. And I don't anticipate that changing. That's not on the vaccination list that's required for a student to attend school. There's a previous list that has the requirements that I mentioned earlier. But as far as the COVID vaccine, that is not a requirement at this time.
That is all the questions as of right now.
Okay, then we are gonna thank you for joining us tonight, and we are going to end this presentation. You should feel free to reach out to us. Please call the school, please email any of us. We'd love to get connected. But thank you for being here tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you.